Energy Disruptors. Please welcome to the stage Stefan Lindegaard, founder, Silicon Valley Fast Track.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. It's a great conference, right? Yeah, it's really good. People are clapping, smiling faces, happy people. And why not? It's been 2 days of insights, inspiration. It's been pretty good. Let's get back to reality. Fear. Fear. That is the essence of my interactions with executives and corporate innovation teams around the world. It's the fear of missing out on the impact of digitalization and new technologies. It's the fear of not being able to swing this into your favor, being the losers rather than the winners. It's the fear that you as current executives or potential new ones, that you will be overrun by a new generation that's better than you. When I look at this new generation of executives that's coming on board, I look at Silicon Valley. I have the pleasure of going there for the last 25 years. I go there as often as I can. I feel I really know that place quite well. I don't live there. I'm an outsider, but I feel I know it well. And it also gives me some different perspectives. To me, Silicon Valley is not just a physical location. It's a mindset. It's a mindset where you're very good at working in the intersection of leadership, technologies, business models, and talent management. And based on what I see around the world in my travels, we really need that mindset in many large organizations today. So I have 20 minutes right now, not much time. I do have an hour if you want to hear more about this in the station room right after. But 20 minutes to give you some insights and some inspiration of what I do. And if you like more of that, feel free to send me questions or follow me on LinkedIn. That's where I publish most of my work. If we get started now, what leaders should pay attention to here in 2018? It kind of starts 5-7 years back. We got this thing creeping up upon us called digitalization. How that would change market and industries, organizations. I saw lots of scared people out there, lots of scared executives, because at first, they really viewed digitalization in a way that required defense. How do we protect ourselves? And it still is like that in many ways. Go to retail industry and mention Amazon. Everyone's running away. Well, not everyone, because it's changing a little bit right now. Now someone's starting to go into offense as well, trying to fight back. We're finally starting to see that digitalization, which by the way cannot stand alone, it's digitalization and new technologies. They're coming together to be not only a threat, but also massive opportunity for lots of companies. And also communities like Calgary, Canada, what we're talking about, the session we had right before. Massive opportunity for you guys. And what we're seeing is that digitalization and new technologies is now also being equated with innovation. You know, working with executives over the last 15, 20 years, it's amazing how often I've seen executives talk the talk about how important innovation is for their company, how good they are at it. Very good at talking the talk, but when you start scratching the surface, not very good at walking the walk. One of the main reasons for this is that until recently, very few top executive suites were personally committed to corporate innovation. It was all talk, very little work. Day to day was so important they couldn't really care that much about the future. And again, it's changing. I mean, when I make a guesstimate, I'll say that 15% of the large organizations out there today, they're in a place where they can really start to take what's happening now and turn that into an offensive weapon. And they're doing it. But it's only 15%. That means we still got 85% of organizations out there that are kind of in trouble, stuck with an old mindset. Many of the things I do is pattern recognition. So I've done this so often in so many years, in so many different countries, in so many different organizations, so many different industries. But it's all the same 4 or 5 issues. How do we get the top executives on board for innovation? How do we get the organization to buy in? How do we work better with external partners? So I can see some patterns, and I just want to share with you 4 indicators that I see and look at when I have to assess whether a company is doing good, being the 15%, or doing bad, being the 85%. So one is, how does your executive actually balance between the day-to-day activities and creating the future? A second one is, how your executive approach talent management. How much time do they spend on this? What's the quality of the initiatives? Should be really high today. What about the initiatives related to data scientists? I heard some comments just before saying that you're really struggling a little bit about software engineers, AI, ML in this region. Dang, that's not good. It's not good at all. You need to catch up on that. This is going to make or break not only companies, but entire regions, communities. How well you do on that one. The 4th one is kind of interesting because it's a paradox. Middle managers can stop innovation just by doing their job. What the heck? Middle managers are doing their job, and by that they're stopping innovation? What kind of paradox is that? Well, let me tell you a story, a recollection of the interactions I have on this. Let's say we have Peter here, a middle manager, trying to climb the corporate ladder. And Peter's just been told 18 months ago, hey, Peter, these are your objectives. These are your goals. I want you to reach these goals. That's the VP talking here. If you reach these goals, you'll be in for a good bonus, some good incentives. You might get that promotion you're looking for. There are 5 other guys and girls that are fighting for this one, but reach this and you're in line for it. Okay, Peter takes in tunnel vision. I need to get to those objectives. I need to fulfill them. Okay, that's good. That's how many organizations work. We've got Sarah on the other side. Sarah's working with corporate innovation initiatives. And you know, it's pretty tough in many organizations to do that. And Sarah comes in, they have some projects going on, they have 17 different projects, but this particular one is quite interesting. Has huge potential. They're at critical stage. They see 2 people over at Peter's team. If we can just use those people for 3 months, only part-time. But Peter, can I please borrow these people for just 3 months? Sarah comes in and begs and pleads. And Peter sits there, what's this? What's going on? This is not good timing. 6 months from now, I'm this close on actually reaching my target. But I know if you take my 2 guys here, even though it's only part-time, I know they're going to love that project so much that mentally there'll be more in that project than doing their day-to-day work. So Peter starts thinking. He gets to a very, very similar question, and that's one that's driving many organizations. Anyone in a large organization. It's a simple question. What's in it for me? Peter is trying to reach his objectives to get that promotion. Does this help him? Nope. Sarah, I'm sorry, but I can't help you. I see the greater good of the company, but I'm sorry, but for many reasons I cannot help you right now. Sarah has to walk away. Happens all the time. The paradox. Middle managers just doing their job stops innovation. The irony here is that you could have a CEO that's really talking about innovation, how important it is for the company, and you'll be in a company where this happens all the time. I see it all the time. The irony is that they don't even know about this one. They talk about the big picture, but they don't get into the machine room where things really happen, where the interactions really happen, both within the middle managers, but especially also how to engage with the external partners, those 2 key elements. They don't understand how difficult it is to make that happen. That's the problem we have right now. Some tips on what leaders should do now. Many of you are the leaders or you're potential leaders. What should you do right now? The things I'm going to say now is a little bit backtracking, but I'm sure you'll get the point. You see the guy there, Jeffrey Immelt, the former CEO of GE? Within the innovation communities, my circles, he was a hero. He was one of those CEOs who was really serious and committed to innovation. He was really doing a good job on the outside, on what looked like he was creating a great future for GE. The digitalization of GE with Predix and many other initiatives. Internally on the processes, they have some pretty cool concepts and process called FastWorks. That's actually going to stay in the company. They're not sure what they're going to do about digitalization, but FastWorks seems to stay as a process because it's really working. He got fired. He not only got fired, his legacy's been tarnished right now in a big way. Why? Because he made a pretty big sin. He did a great job on creating the future, building good frameworks and conditions for innovation, but he didn't deliver on the day-to-day. And that's the truth right now. You will get fired much faster for not delivering on the day-to-day activities, rather than doing something that looks really great for the future. One of your challenges is to find the right balance here. And when I look at the companies, I talked about the winners, I tend to see that they have a balance with about 60% of efforts being spent on day-to-day activities and 40% on creating the future. So still, much more focus on day-to-day activities. That's also the one that's paying all the bill. That's the one that's going to pay for the future. Another thing is that you need to upgrade your organizations, but it starts with yourself. In my engagement, I worked with a concept I call core teams. And core teams are like 6, 8-person SWAT-like teams you put in there. Not an innovation team, not really a transformation team, but the ones that hopefully led by the executive, the CEO, him or herself, a few other executives, and some select target people within the organization. They go out there and set the direction, set the vision, what you're trying to push forward towards. And then the main job is to clear the obstacles and the barriers and make things happen. When I go in and look at what they need to know about, it's very much based on the impact of digitization, new technologies, that it has on the markets and the industries. That's one thing. But just as important, what is the impact of this on their own organization? From a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being bad, 10 being world class, they need to get to 7. That's a very high number. And the model I work with are called 7-5 because the core team needs to get to 7. But your executive suite, the top 20 or 30 people, needs to get to a 5. These guys are usually on a 3.5, 4, and they're not willing to move forward because they're way too busy just focusing on day-to-day activities. And they're not really sure if someone can really teach them anything about the industry they know so well. But let's go back to the fear factor I started out with. This is pushing more and more executives to go and take this seriously and start upgrading themselves. Table stakes are changing. Of course, we still need to be good managers and leaders. And of course, we need to know how our industry and markets are working, and especially also how they're changing. It's always been there. Something that's really growing is the importance of talent management, how to create the right framework and conditions for them to unfold the potential. That's really increasing. That's something you need to become much better at. And then the impact of digitization, new technologies. Table stakes are changing. When we talk about impact, let me use the example of a corporate innovation setup. You have 17 different projects. You have 3 in the early stage, you have some in mid stage, and some in late stage. It is very well described. It looks pretty good on paper. You kind of know where you're moving forward. But I'm baffled that so often when I dig further into this one, there's a big disconnect between managing the projects and the key ingredient to be successful with them. That's people. So you have project pools here, very well laid out and defined, but people are the one that actually make it successful, make it happen. Why don't you go in and build people pools? Identify people that can work in the different phases of the projects, the innovation projects you're working on, and then you create a process that allows you to take the right people, Match them with the right projects at the right time in the right context. It should be people first, process next, then ideas. Lastly, on this point here, 8, 10, 12 barriers or obstacles, we could also call it excuses on why innovation is not working in a company. It's easy to get to that number. Some even get 15. Okay, so, we're not very good because we don't communicate well with our different silos within the organization. We're not doing a pretty good job at communicating and working with external partners. We don't have clear direction where we're going. So lots of obstacles and barriers why innovation is not working. And then you have the poor corporate innovation team who keep fighting these obstacles and barriers over and over and over again. Nothing happens. The reason is you need to take a step back. You need to look at those 8, 10, or 12 different barriers, obstacles, excuses, and you need to find the root causes. And you cannot solve the barriers and obstacles if you do not address and attack the root causes first. One of my prime examples for a good root cause that I see often in most organizations, you guys do all the right things for the past, not the future. You're doing all the right things. That's worked for you for 20 years. But in many ways, it's all the wrong things for the future. Now you get into stuff that you can only address on the senior executive level. That's why it's so difficult to do, because who's going to tell the executive that's the problem? Who's going to make them work this? How do they make this work? Another quite important root cause is that you do not have a sense of urgency in the organization. And the sense of urgency is very much related to how fast this technology development is taking place right now. This digitalization development is taking place right now. And I like this short video here from Mother Jones. And it's a good way to just get an understanding of how things have been in the past. And granted, the last 10, 20 years, so many things happen. But I promise you, when you look at the robo-race car down there, it would have been science fiction 10 years ago. Anything we look at as science fiction today, anything we can think of and what we call science fiction today will become science fact in the lifespan of our young children today. That's how fast things are moving. And Dave, would you please play this video so we can get an example? Wake up. 2025, 7 years from now. Saw how little actually happened over the last 60 years? The next 7 years? We're just getting started, for good and bad. We're just getting started. When we look at all of this, I just have one concluding comment here. It's not really so much about technologies, about digitalization, disruption, and whatever we call all those buzzwords. We need to get back to the core. And that is to understand this is all about people. Let me use this concluding comment just to make an example of a disconnect here. By show of hands, how many of you guys in this room work with people in an HR or talent management function today? Got about 15 people. Not that many at all. Unfortunately, HR is the missing link in all of this. I've given up on HR functions. They don't get it. We need to move on and create a new function that's about talent management, and it should be linked directly towards the top executives, the CEO, him or herself. Because this is all about people. You're welcome to join my session 11:50 in the station room. We have 1 hour. I will do an exercise where you can go in and get an idea of your own networking and learning capabilities and status right now. And we'll spend half an hour on that and half an hour on questions related to this. But thank you very much. Have a great day. you.